He was the ambassador of Seleucus. He traveled to India when Chandragupta Maurya was in power. Chandragupta was referred to as Sandrocatus by the Greeks. He was also the author of the novel Indica. Megasthenes is referred to be the father of Indian history since he was the first to depict ancient India. Schwanbeck finds faults only with Megasthenes' description of the gods worshipped in India. Father of comparative religion, father of modern geodesy, founder of Indology and the first anthropologist after traveling to India, he wrote a book about Indian culture. He wrote Kitab al-Hind or Takakai Hind after investigating the Hindu religion that is widely practiced in India. He became fully knowledgeable about India. He studied Sanskrit, Indian philosophy, and the nation's socio-economic situation since he was fascinated by Indian culture. During the time of King Harshavardhan, a Chinese Buddhist monk by the name of Hiuen Tsang, popularly known as Hiuen Tsang, traveled from China to India to collect Buddhist texts. He wrote the Records of the Western World, or Siyuki. He later traveled throughout China in search of sacred books of Buddhism. He studied in Nalanda, a prestigious institution in the Indian state of Bihar, for almost 5 years. Hiuen Tsang studied logic, grammar, Sanskrit, and the Yogacara style of Buddhism when he was in Nalanda. Italian explorer and merchant Niccolò Conti traveled to India in the year 1420, perhaps after Deva Raya II assumed the throne of the Vijayanagara state. De Conti's travels followed the period of Timurid relations with Europe. They also occurred around the same time and in the same places as the Chinese expeditions of Admiral Zheng He. Niccolò visited Sonargaon and Chittagong, in modern-day Bangladesh, then traveled by land to Arakan, now Rakhine State, Burma. Ibn Battuta, a Moroccan nomad who traveled the world in the 13th century, his common full name is Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Battuta. He visited almost all Muslim countries as well as many adjacent non-Muslim lands. He is known for the account of his journeys called the Rihla, voyage. He traveled around southern India for a while under Jamal-ud protection. The poem Rihla was written by Ibn Battuta. Ibn Battuta was a Maghribi traveler, explorer and scholar. Numerous Portuguese traders and tourists visited Vijayanagara when Goa was taken over in 1510 and became the seat of the Portuguese Estado de India. These visitors published in-depth reports of Basnaga's beauty. Domingos Pais is most noteworthy, written between 1520 and 1522. Pais' description, published during Krishnadeva's reign and mostly based on close observation, fully explains the yearly royal Durga festival and the so-called feudal Malankara system of Vijayanagaras. Vasco da Gama was a Portuguese explorer who lived in the late 15th and early 16th centuries. Nobleman who was the first European to reach India by sea. Da Gama's discovery of the sea route to India opened the way for an age of global imperialism and enabled the Portuguese to establish a long-lasting colonial empire along the way from Africa to Asia. For his contributions, in 1524 da Gama was appointed governor of India, with the title of viceroy, and was ennobled as Count of Vittigera in 1519. Marco Polo, a Venetian trader and explorer, traveled from Europe to Asia. He joined the Tanjore area Tamil Pandya kingdom. He traveled across southern India while Rudrama Devi of the Kakatiya dynasty was in power. One of India's few queens was Rudrama Devi, who ruled from 1261 to 1295 CE. Marco Polo was the first to leave a detailed chronicle of his experience. His travels are recorded in the Travels of Marco Polo, also known as Book of the Marvels of the World and Il Million, circa 1300. He was a Chinese Buddhist monk. He adopted the name Faxian, which means splendor of Dharma. His birth name was Gong Sehai. He traveled to India during the rule of Chandragupta II. He gained notoriety for visiting Lumbini. His travel journal, Record of Buddhist Kingdoms, details his adventure. Faxian's account of his pilgrimage, the Fogwoji or Notable Independent Record of Early Buddhism in India. He wrote a book on his travels around the year 414, filled with accounts of early Buddhism. Yijing-born Zhang Wenming was a Tang-era Chinese Buddhist monk famed as a traveler and translator. He gave accounts of the Gupta period. A student of the Buddhist University at Nalanda, he was the translation of many Buddhist texts from Sanskrit and Pali into Chinese. The I Ching Book of Changes is foremost among the 5 ancient classics of China. I Ching writes that there were followers of both vehicles, Sakyayana, practicing according to the Hinayana and Mahayana.